Hey, it's Laura. I'm here today to share with you an exercise that I use on myself a lot when I say there's a behavior I want to change and yet I'm not currently enacting that behavior I want. I first learned this exercise from JF Benoit. He's a program manager at the Exclusive Hawaii, which is an amazing holistic rehab, and I'll include a link to that. I saw how this exercise aligned with a couple other theories, though, in evolutionary theory. So I am adding those pieces to the exercise, and I'll include some links to research on that as well. So I first learned this exercise on someone who stated they wanted a more organized and simplified life, and they were struggling with disorganization and clutter. I have supported a lot of clients using this exercise when they are struggling with substance abuse and they state that they want sobriety. Today, I'm going to be using myself as an example, and the example I'm going to be using is my current eating patterns versus including fasting in my life. So you may ask why I want to fast more. I have a personal family history on my maternal side. I don't know my paternal side, but on the maternal side, each of the family members that have passed, three so far of grandparents, uncle, they have all died of cancer. And I've had three other family members that have been diagnosed with cancer, yet were able to treat it. So I have six close family members that have had cancer. When my uncle was diagnosed 4 years ago, I really dove into the research of what are we showing is beneficial to treat cancer and to prevent cancer. And I saw a lot of research on fasting. So resources for this are Rhonda Patrick, PhD at foundmyfitness.com, Dr. Peta Attia at drpetaatia.com, and Sacha Panda. Those were three of the researchers I followed. So 4 years ago, there was some research showing the benefits of fasting to prevent or treat cancer. And when I researched it more recently, all the research has increased and reinforces what I learned 4 years ago. So what I believe is most healthy for me is 2 to 4 times a year to fast for 5 to 7 days. What this allows is to turn on apoptosis and autophagy. And this is the body's intrinsic method for breaking down and killing damaged cells. So apoptosis and autophagy, one is where the body will take damaged parts outside of a cell and use that for energy while you're fasting. And then when you refeed, it restores what's missing from that cell. And the other one is where there's a damaged cell, and damaged cells is what lead to cancer. The entire damaged cell will be broken down and used for energy. And then when you refeed after the fast, it's important to provide your body lots of healthy nutrition, but your body rebuilds those pieces that it broke down. So this is an amazing mechanism that's built within ourselves to reduce our cancer risk. So I have a strong belief that this is what's best and healthiest for me. My current behavior over the past year, I did one 3.5 day fast, and I did probably about 12 36-hour fasts. Yeah, I haven't gotten to that 5 to 7 days. So I'm just going to begin with the exercise. I'm going to draw it on this piece of paper, but I'm realizing it's not that easy to see, so I will scan and upload a copy of this when it's done. So here is my current eating pattern. So what do I believe will happen if I continue my current eating pattern? If I look at my relatives, I would probably say in 30 to 40 years, I'd develop cancer. And if I continue with my current eating pattern after I develop cancer, I think it would be, they experienced a lot of pain. The cancer was very painful for them. Just a large decrease in mobility. just a large increase in difficulties in daily life. So 30 to 40 years, developed cancer, painful difficulty in mobility, decrease in daily life. If I continued with my current eating pattern while I did like chemotherapy, because they're showing that fasting prior to chemotherapy really increases its efficacy. Only for 90% of cancers, though. 10% of cancers, it doesn't matter. They're metabolically fluid. It doesn't matter if you fast. So talk to a metabolic oncologist. That's the specialist that you need to seek if you're interested in fasting and if you have cancer. So I am not an expert. Don't take my medical advice because I am not licensed in that field. Decrease in chemotherapy effectiveness. And if I continued with my pattern and my family members are a path that I would take, I'd have a painful death. So that would be the end of me if I continue my pattern as it is now. And one thing, these results are like 40 years in the future. So humans, especially in our culture, different cultures, we have different ways of phasing things. I forgot what European country, like past self, future self, and current self, it's all the same thing, but the way we use language, we really think that our future self is different than our current self. So that's probably a biases that I have. I'm not realizing it's still going to be me, and I don't want pain now, so I don't want pain 40 years from now either. But so there's a cognitive bias that this is a long time in the future, but I'll go into the evolutionary biases that we have after the exercise. So I'm going to have a painful death if I continue. But, so I don't want this. So it seems like I would want to change, right? But let's see what actually happens when I fill this out. So what am I afraid will happen if I fast 2 to 4 times a year for 5 to 7 days? I am terrified, like really terrified, that I am going to have decreased output. That I'm going to have decreased efficacy. Like, I'm terrified of this. I have really high standards for myself that I need to have output happening a lot and that I need to be really efficient in what I do. And when I fasted for 3.5 days before, they described that there's a hump that you get over, and I didn't make it through the hump. Like day 3 and day 4, I was experiencing a lot of pain similar to when I was younger, when I was eating a really poor diet. I don't know, maybe my body was detoxing some, and that was the reason for the pain, but I haven't yet made it over that hump. So I'm pretty sure that I am going to have decreased output and efficiency, at least for the first few times that I do the 5 to 7 day fast. I think after that, my body will have detoxed enough that I'm able to have a decent output. But why am I terrified of having a decreased output and efficacy? I am afraid of decreased output and efficacy. It's so tied into this, who I am. So that if I have decreased efficacy, I'm afraid I wouldn't be enough. I'm not enough. I'm afraid that, I guess I'd call myself as being bad if I decreased efficacy. So I'm afraid that if I had that, then I'd be not enough and bad. And what am I afraid will happen if I'm not enough and bad? Like, if those things really are true, I'm not saying they are, but a part of my brain believes this, so I'm putting it on paper so I can see if I really believe it or not. So if I'm not enough or bad, I'd never be successful. If I'm never successful, that means I am going to be poor financially. And if 40 years from now I'm poor financially, I'm probably going to have a painful death. I will be at assisted living like my relatives were. I'll be mostly isolated. I was there for them, and a few other people were there for them, but there was a lot of isolation. I think if I'm not successful, I'll probably be isolated, even though I know that's not true. A piece of me really believes that. Yeah. So a part of me believes that if I keep my current patterns, I'm going to have a painful death. And if I change, I'm going to have a painful death. I thought these were going to be slightly different. I didn't think they were going to come out as identical as they were. Yet commonly when people do this exercise, they have the same result on two completely different patterns. A part of us believes we're going to have the same result. So why change? Why would I want to have the same freaking end result and have less yummy food and have decreased output and decreased efficacy if I'm going to have the same result? But the fact is, this is an evolutionary bias. It's not true that I'm going to have the same result. So what is this evolutionary bias? It is that many of our ancestors, if they ate a red berry, current pattern, and they got really, really sick, if they saw another red berry, the ones that survived said, no, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to eat that. And it could have been a raspberry, but because I'm afraid that I'm going to have the similar outfit or similar result on this new thing. Our ancestors that said, "Ooh, new berry, let's try it. Like, let's dive in." They sometimes lucked out and had raspberries, and some of the times they didn't luck out and they died. So they did not pass on their genes. So our ancestors that were more feared the possible wrong outcome and didn't try new things, those are the ones that survived. So I'm going to include a link to a study on, it's called Evolution of Errors. So it was a study by Fowler University that I will show you. So here's my brain doing this thing that it's been doing for evolutions, not my brain, but previous brains that were passed on to me. So what is false here? It's actually not true that I'm not enough and bad if I have decreased output and efficacy. It's not even true that I'm isolated. I am not isolated right now. I have community and connections. Yet a piece of my brain fears that. And it's not true that I'm going to be financially poor if I have 4 weeks of decreased output and efficacy. Like, that is not true. So to really see the things that aren't true, and to create an action plan around them. So when I was thinking about doing this video, I realized I was going to find out that what I was fearing was not true. And I went ahead and scheduled a week-long fast for July. I'm okay if I don't do the full 7 days. If I just do 3 or 4 or 5. Yet I put aside a week where I'm okay having decreased output and efficacy to take care of my health. Whew. So probably when I get closer to that time, that anxiety around having decreased output and efficacy may come back. But I'll know it's not true. And to cement what is true, that I strongly believe that allowing myself that week of decreased output and efficacy is going to be what's best for my health. That I already have community, and whether I'm a big success or not, that I'm not going to be financially poor. I am taking those steps to make sure that that's not true. So I hope me working through this exercise may have been insightful or supportive to you. I look forward to hearing any questions, comments that you have. Yeah, and I encourage you to name a pattern or behavior that you want to change in your life and where you currently are at, and do this exercise and see on the side you ask yourself, what do I fear if I do this? And if this is true, what am I afraid will be the next step? And what am I afraid will be the next step? And a lot of times you'll come to the similarity. It is common to own that fear. Sometimes it's just easier to have on those road-colored glasses and say, well, I'm not afraid anything will happen if I fast 2 to 4 times a year, and just jump to the positive. Nothing bad will happen. I will have increased health. I'm afraid of nothing. I really encourage you to look at what fear could you be afraid of? And just really be patient with yourself and persistent about digging underneath. And I hope, it shows some light for you, and I look forward to hearing your comments again. Have a wonderful day.